Committee meeting for Wednesday, March the 20th, 2019 will be called to order. Roll call, please.
Calling the roll, Mr. Tuma.
Here.
Mr. Miller.
Here.
Ms. Conwell.
Here.
Mr. Schrein.
Here.
Ms. Baker.
Here.
There is a quorum.
Okay. Is there any public comment this morning?
No, Mr. Chair, no one is signed in.
Okay. And if we could have approval of minutes from the March 6, 2019 meeting? Okay, we have a motion and a second. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed, nay. The ayes have it. And Madam Clerk, if you could, please read the first matter referred to committee.
Resolution number 2019-0067, authorizing an amendment to contract number CE 1800293 with DeJoya Suburban Excavating for reconstruction and widening of Royalton Road from West 130th Street to York Road in the city of North Royalton.
Okay, and if you could just please state your name for the record.
Nicole English with Public Works. So this amendment is mainly due to a request that the city had, besides 10,000 of it, which is unforeseen conditions in the field. The rest of it is related to a water line that the city has requested we include in the project. And there was some coordination that was going on for a long time with Cleveland Water Department. This was a federal aid job, so we had to sell it in time. That's why this is coming after the job has been sold. And they upsized the water main from what we had originally in the plans. And so this cost is mainly related to the upsizing of the pipe. The city is covering the cost at 100% their cost because road and bridge funds cannot pay for the water line. It's just that we're running the contract, so we have to amend the contract.
Okay, so it's an upsized water pipe at the request of the city.
Correct.
And they're covering the cost.
Correct. The total amendment, there's 10,000 in it that is being covered by the county, and that's for unforeseen conditions that we've run into in the field. But besides that, the rest of it is on North Royalton. Okay.
Any questions, concerns about this, Mr. Schrein?
More just curiosity. I guess I thought that they had their own water system out there. This is part of Cleveland City Water? Okay.
They have signed the Cleveland Water agreement recently.
Oh, recently. Okay, there. All right. So it wasn't completely out of line. All right.
Right.
Okay. And what are we looking for as far as a time frame?
Since they are out on construction, we'd appreciate second reading suspension.
Okay. I'll make that motion.
Second.
I have a motion and a second for second reading suspension. All those in favor say aye. 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 Opposed, nay. The ayes have it. Okay, thank you. Madam Clerk, next resolution.
Resolution number 2019-0068, making an award on requisition number 44248 to Nerone and Sons, the amount not to exceed $676,870 for the Wallings Road Pump Station Improvement Project in the city of Brecksville.
Nicole English again with Public Works. So this is an award for a contract. The estimate was $650,000. So this is about 4% over the estimate. These are all costs that go back to the sewer district, the city's sewer fund, so it's not county funds that are paying for the contract. There was an SBE of 10% that was assigned. Nerone is an SBE contractor themselves, so they exceed that goal, and we would ask for second reading suspension on this so they could start construction.
Okay, and you said, just to clarify, the costs go back into the city sewer funds?
Correct, from the sewer district user funds that we collect on behalf of the city.
Okay. Questions or comments on this resolution? Okay, seeing none. What is the situation with the timing on this?
We would request second reading just since it's construction. The weather, I think, is going to turn, so if they could get started, that would be great.
Okay, second reading, not second reading suspension. Second reading?
Suspension.
Oh, suspension. No, that's what.
Sorry.
Oh, that's okay. There is a technical difference. So, okay, so I'll make the motion for second reading suspension. Can I have a second? I have a motion and a second for second reading suspension. All those in favor say aye. 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 Opposed, nay. The ayes have it. All right, Madam Clerk, the third resolution here.
Resolution number 2019-0069, declaring that public convenience and welfare requires resurfacing of various roads, boulevards, and avenues located in various municipalities in connection with the 2019 50/50 resurfacing program.
Nicole English again with Public Works. So in general, I'm going to talk about this item and the next just to talk about how we came up with it. The two differences are, the first one is 2019 projects, the next is 2020. We solicit every other year for 50/50 projects. The reason we already had a 19 selection, but due to that increase in the license fee that it's kicking in this year, we have upped the program from 1.5 million to 2.5. So we put a new round out, and we're calling it 2019B. So that's for that additional money, and then 2020 projects are what we selected. Last fall, September, the projects were due, the applications were due. We received 62 project applications. We scored them internally. We look at a combination of things, average daily traffic. The higher the traffic, the more points they get. The condition of the road, the worse the road is, the more points they get. Economic condition of the city, which is a factor that issue 1 uses. We just use their similar scoring. And if the city has gotten a 50-50 job in the past. So they get less points if they've had a recent 50-50 job. And then we look to, make sure that we're somewhat covering the county in an even fashion. So while you'll see not every district is covered in this round, since 2017, we've awarded 50-50 jobs. So we kind of look at the whole program to make sure we're being equitable. And then we also have the operations jobs where we do 80-20 that cover, another list of projects and federal aid jobs. So we have different programs, that we're looking at more of a comprehensive look than just a narrow focus of this. These cities, the program is 50-50, so that means we give 50%. The city puts in 50%, up to $250,000 a city. Some of them are a little bit less because their project is less than $500,000, so we just match half of it for them. The city designs the job, they construct the job, they come to us at the end with a final reimbursement. So we likely won't pay out, even the 19 jobs, we might not even pay out until next year just due to them finishing construction and then giving us their final invoices. So the ones listed in 19, we would expect the cities will construct this year. That's what they put in their applications for. The 2020 jobs, you'd expect construction next year on those.
Okay. And these are, cities are the ones that make the application?
Correct. So for the 50-50 program, we leave it up to the cities to make the request, and then we do selections. Our other programs, the operations we pick ourselves with the cities, input. And then the federal aid jobs, we work with NOAC on picking those. So this is the one program that the cities have the ability to send in applications.
Okay. And I know this may seem silly, but at this point, I would assume that every city knows about the 50-50 program. Everybody's notified and has an equal opportunity to apply.
So we actually send letters soliciting to every single city. We send it to the mayor, we copy the service director and the city engineer, and we've gone out and done, we have a presentation that you may have seen of all of our different road and bridge projects. We've been out to, I would say, half the cities at least on one-on-ones. We've also presented at mayors and managers this year and 2 years ago. I think most cities are pretty aware, and it's this program, and then the pavement maintenance, we do the yearly request too. So we're in pretty well communication with all these cities, so they're aware.
All right, great. Any questions? We'll start with Mr. Miller.
Did I hear right that the maximum match is $250,000? So if the project is over, like this Rockefeller Avenue one that's $728,000, we would just cover $250,000 and the municipality would cover the rest. Is that correct?
Correct. So on their application, some people did tell us where they're coming up with the rest of the money, and sometimes they have federal funds, sometimes they have issue 1. This program, we sell it to the cities as smaller projects, local projects that are less than 500, or projects that you have a funding gap on. So maybe you just can't quite get your whole local match, and so they come to us to fill that last local match share.
So, Mr. Chairman, Ms. English, what kind of streets are eligible for this? Are they? I presume they're not side streets. But are they state routes or are they municipal responsibility routes? What kind of streets are eligible?
They're all county roads are eligible, which in the cities are the city's responsibility. However, we can use our money to participate with them. However, so any county road. Now, there are some county roads that you would call a side street or a local road if you go drive it. But then we do score them based on ADT. So, some of if you have over 20,000 ADTs, a pretty significant arterial, they're getting the most points. So it's harder for us to fund a project that has a really low ADT that you would call a local road, but if it's in really bad condition and the city hasn't had a project in a while and their economic health is a little bit lower, they could score enough to get funded. Like that Rockefeller Avenue in Cleveland, the ADT is fairly low, but it was in really bad condition, and so it scored that way.
And how many applications did you get?
62 streets, but that's several cities gave us multiple projects, and so They were told they could only get one in this round, but they would say, well, we want to submit all of them and let you score to see which one, might score. So I think Cleveland sent 6 in. East Cleveland sent maybe 4. So some of the cities did give us more than one project.
Thank you, Mr.
So,
Miller. Oh, I'm sorry.
so it's one maximum of one street per community per round. Is that?
Yeah, we say per year is what we told them. So if they already had a 19 job, the last time they couldn't apply for 19, so they may have gotten a 20 job here. We tried to rank it that way. And then what we did, like Cleveland had several streets that ranked, so we went back to their engineers and said, all of these would be eligible for funding. Which one is your most important one? And they came back with this street. Mm-hmm. So those cities that if more than one actually scored in the round, we gave them the choice.
So, why is the city of Cleveland, that has more than a third of the county's population, limited to one street?
In the 50-50 program, they have gotten one in 17 and 18. I mean, they're somewhat getting one in every year. We didn't pick them in 20, but they do have 2 operations jobs that we're doing with them, 80-20. There's also a federal aid job that's in there. So we somewhat looked at the whole program and said, we have a significant amount of work going on in Cleveland right now, too. So I didn't think that this 50-50 program is really unbalanced in any way. And they seem to be happy with that also. We're working with them on another federal aid job that we put in on Ridge Road that was submitted through the 50-50, but we've been working with NOACA to get more federal money to get it done. So they didn't get one each year, but they don't have any in 2020, but they do have 18, 17. Cleveland does have quite a few in the pipeline. And this is our way to really stretch as far as we can into the cities. This is the easiest program for cities that are doing a project to come to us and ask for some help on. So kind of like to see touching, everybody.
Okay, thank you. Mr. Schron?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. So with 62 apps and 8 selections, it looks like obviously we're 1 out of 8 almost is what we're picking out there. So it was a competitive process?
Correct. We ended up picking 16 because if you see the next resolution, we picked them all together, so
Okay.
16 out of 62.
Okay.
Sure, yeah, it was, there's definitely a need, that's one of the arguments now with the gas taxes. If we got 62 applications in for help and we can only give 16, there's obviously a need in the community for more.
So you have to make some, that's the second, you increase the revenue to be able to do it. But staying with what we have, you did have a competitive process. I assume you picked the best for the 16 you're presenting to us, 8 and 8. So who was actually doing the selection?
So we score them in Public Works based on that criteria, the traffic, the condition, the economic health, if they've had a project recently. And then we rank, I want to say...
Who is we? I just want to make sure who's sitting at the table doing the ranking? So it's all internal?
Yes, it's Public Works. Someone who works for me ran the tables and assigned all the points, and it's just a straight chart that you're using.
There's you don't have no representation from mayors and managers. You have no representation from any other group sitting at the table.
No, because it's our program. It's our dollars.
No, it's our program. I'm sorry, it's not your program. It's our program.
Right.
We're the ones that control the dollars. So
I mean the county, I guess.
That's where I'm coming back to.
Sorry,
it's not
the county,
it's not
not
Public
mayors and
Works.
managers.
It's the county.
So we did
I don't
run
mean
this
to be flippant,
list.
but it's the taxpayers' money that we're talking about.
Correct. Yeah, I just meant the mayors and managers. The county we feel on this program that the county should be making the choices with these factors that we've told the community is how we score them. So once we had a top ranking, obviously we run this by the county executive, and then we did run this list by council staff. I know we shared it with Joe and Trevor just to make sure that they're aware of it before we put it through.
Yeah, I guess I'm just coming to Mr. Miller and I served on another body down in Columbus at one time, and it sounds very similar to the Clean Ohio Fund. And you have competition; not everybody gets selected. Mm-hmm. You're picking the best. You try not to overweight the same area of the state time after time.
Right.
The only difference is that there are some folks sitting in there that also have a vested interest in the best interest of the county, not just the public works area. So is there a written criteria so that everybody can pick it up and every applicant knows what it is?
Yeah, when we send out the letter, we tell them what we're scoring them on, and then we send them a form to apply for it, and they literally have to fill in the boxes for traffic, pavement condition, so they know exactly those are the factors they're getting scored on. So they provide us the information, and then it's tables that we use to decipher the different points.
Okay, and then they get a chance to see what their final points scores were against the other.
Yeah, we have had
public?
one request. I forget which city came in, maybe Parma Heights, and had asked us for that information.
Why don't we just publish it?
We could.
Yeah, I mean,
Yeah, we could.
in the spirit of transparency, we should just say, okay, we had 62 applicants. Here's our scoring criteria. Here's how they got scored, and here's how we picked these 16. So none were picked on the basis of a wink, wink, or no one were picked on the basis. Oh, I like this mayor better than I like that mayor. It would be it just seems to me, in the area of transparency, we ought to be publishing that when the results come out. When we do this, when we pick this, then let's tell the world why did your numbers make it and the other one didn't?
Sure.
And again, I'm just falling back on what we did with Clean Ohio. It was always public, and the criteria was identified. It was selected and scored by Department of Development, but it ultimately had come to an independent third-party body that gave a final review of it, and it was a blended body. So I just suggest that as a way in which. Obviously, in this particular case, we have 48, 46 folks who did not get selected out of that. So that's a big chunk of the folks who did not get selected in it.
Yeah, I guess just to clarify, probably not 46
communities 46 road applications.
Yeah.
But the people on that road, that's their project.
Correct.
The people in that are, the fact that it went down the street in Parma doesn't help me if it's on my street in Parma. So it'd be nice to know. Thank you.
Sure.
All right. I noticed how Jack used Parma. No, I'm teasing. I'm teasing.
I don't see Parma on here.
No,
they're
not. They're not.
Not even on the list.
No.
Believe me, I'm aware of that. One question. So I know Ms. Baker has a question too. So these are only county roads then?
Correct.
So does every community in Cuyahoga County have a county road within its boundaries? Okay.
Some have more than others.
Okay. Ms. Baker?
Yes, thank you, Chair. The economic health, what can you explain that, and what communities are just probably not even considered because of, is it economic health that they can afford to do the roads themselves?
Yeah, so we are defaulting to what Issue 1 uses for economic health last year. They are working on maybe changing their criteria, so we would probably go along with them in the future. But they use a 10-point scale where it's based on average income of the community. And so they have assigned points to every one of the cities in the county, and so we literally just take that score. And so it doesn't mean if your economic health score is high that you're not going to get funded. This is out of 100 points, so you can make it up in condition and ADT. It doesn't really Issue 1 right now. The score is kind of worth a lot, and it does make a hard time to come over it. We didn't see that if you really had a good project, you can still come in with, an economic health score.
If I may, number 8 for Highland Heights, I would say that's probably a higher economic health community, and so they were able to get above the scoring and that.
Yeah,
category.
they had 26,008 cars a day on the road, so that's probably one of the highest ones that we saw came in. And then their pavement condition rating was 67, which is fairly low. So, that's what brought them up then over the line.
If I may, also there's always been an issue, especially with when we talk about the ODOT requirements, the upkeeping of the roads. Some of these communities take it upon themselves to make sure that the road conditions don't deteriorate to a point where they finally qualify for dollars. Mm-hmm. Was that taken into consideration, that we don't have to invest as much into a road because they've been proactive in making sure that it doesn't get down to the bare minimum of what it is that's needed to repair?
So this one, we do score on worst condition first. Now, when we look at operations projects, we factor that in. The same with those federal aid jobs, because NOACA also recognizes that. So we've got different programs that look at different factors. This one, though, I will say, you got more points if your condition was worse, because these are sort of smaller. The cities are picking them. They're submitting to us. They're aware of, what the scoring is. So this one is trying to help the worst roads out there.
And if I may, do you find that communities that know that this is a welfare, public convenience type of road improvement don't submit because they think they're already at a disadvantage, given those two things, that they do keep their roads up and it's for worst conditions, and that they have a economic health that is perhaps better than what they know they're going to get nicked on that?
I don't think, we got 62 applicants. I don't know off the top of my head how many cities, but it's almost all of them. So I don't think it discouraged anyone from applying. And the application is fairly simple. We don't make it, issue one, some people submit documents that are inches and inches thick. This is one form with a couple backup sheets of information. So it's not a ton of work on them to submit it. So we don't want them paying their engineers to put applications together that, possibly couldn't be successful. We just don't want them doing that. So we make it simple, just giving us the data that we really need. And so I think we had a good round.
I would at least suggest or encourage that we do give some credibility to those cities that are trying to maintain their roads and not just have the absolute worst conditions be approved and recognized, and really be appreciative of those cities that are using their own city dollars just to make sure that they don't have the huge potholes that are destroying our cars, and that we don't nick them for that. That we actually, maybe there should be a scoring of allowing them to, maybe, give them
we could
credit
look
for
at that for the future rounds, of even maybe giving some kind of bonus points for, even though their condition got rated, but maybe there's some bonus points on preventative maintenance and upkeep that they've done, if they can provide us that information. Sure.
I think that would be a good idea. Would maybe encourage other cities to try and do that too, knowing it might give them a bonus and they come back for more money.
Right.
The last question I had was just a technical one. On number 2, is there a bridge related to that ask? Columbia Road from Bridge over to I-270 to Richmond Road?
No, I think the street is Bridge Avenue, maybe.
Okay.
Oh, no, Bridge over I-271 to Richmond Road. So it's from the bridge to Richmond Road. Sorry, I wasn't reading that right.
Isn't the county responsible for all bridges anyway?
Yeah, this is not the bridge itself. That's just the termini point.
Okay.
It's just we're starting at the bridge, or they're starting at the bridge going to Richmond Road. It's just the stop point.
Does not include any bridges?
No bridge work.
Thank you, Chair.
This is all pavement, just pavement.
Thank you.
All right, Ms. Conwell?
Through the chair to Nicole, why was the project selected for 19 and 20 off of our biennial budget? So I don't know why it doesn't line up with our biennial budget. Because I thought we saw these last year.
You saw 19, some 19s, but because we increased the license fee, we put more money into the 19 program, so we wanted to put out a request for additional projects for 19. And again, we got 62 applications. We hate to make the cities do this every year to select 8. So we said, okay, then we'll open it up to 19 and 20 so that people are aware. The other thing is it gives the cities some planning, so if they need to get plans done, and it gives them some time. We operate off of a 5-year capital plan in Public Works. I know it doesn't necessarily line up with the biannual budget, but we have certain monies allotted for every year, and we have projects 5 years out because we're planning for long range, projects that we can't just do in 1 year. So it doesn't necessarily align with the budget. We are working with the assumption that we have the money that we have. We know how much comes in for road and bridge every year. So it is a constant flow that we can estimate, and we're not overspending what we know is coming in.
So we had 1.5 only and up to 18, and so we've added like $1 million, correct?
Right, so we went from 1.5 a year in this program to 2.5 a year. So this award is a little over 3.5, I think, million total. Okay. So it's the 2.5 plus the 1 million that we added into 19.
Gotcha.
And the cities requested the year. That was part of the application. They told us if they wanted a 19 or a 20 project. That's how they filtered into these years.
So since you've picked 19 and 20, when will you put out this program again? In 20 for 21 and
22. Yeah, so early 20, we'd like to send out application requests so that by the end of 20, when people are doing their budgets, they know if they have money for 21 and 22.
Okay, I'd like to add my name.
Thanks.
Okay, if you could add Ms. Conwell's name to it. Any other questions or comments? I think it's pretty thoroughly vetted here. And we're looking at second reading suspension on this.
At least the first one, it would help the cities because they're trying to do the projects this year. So yeah, for this resolution here.
Okay, so for R 2019-0069, I'll make a
Correct.
motion for second reading suspension of the rules. Second. I have a motion and a second for second reading suspension of rules. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed, nay. Ayes have it. Ms. Conwell has a question.
Nicole, if you could send me later the 6 presentations for the city of Cleveland, what they
What they requested, the applications, sure.
Okay. And then, Madam Clerk, we had a brief we had an explanation of R 2019-0070, but if we could read it into the record.
Resolution number 2019-0070, declaring that public convenience and welfare requires resurfacing of various roads, avenues, streets, and a boulevard located in various municipalities in connection with the 2020 50-50 resurfacing program.
Okay, and Ms. English, just briefly indicate what this is for.
Nicole English with Public Works. And so this is just the continuation of what we've been talking about. Okay. These are the 2020 programs or projects that we've selected and done with the same time as the 2019.
Okay, and this one you're looking for just on second reading because we've got time on this, obviously. So.
Yes.
Any questions or comments? Mr. Miller and then Ms. Baker.
Mr. Chairman, I would like to have my name added on this one. Thank you.
Okay. If we could add Mr. Miller's name to this legislation and then Ms. Baker.
Just a quick question. The cities of Brook Park, Brooklyn Heights, Middlebrook Heights, and Fairview Park, they're all 1-point-some million. Yeah. So are all of those cities contributing $1 million towards that?
I would have to go double check their applications. I'm guessing they also have other funding. So I know several of them were planning to put in issue 1 applications. There could be some federal dollars associated with those big, those high dollars. They did indicate to us though how they were going to fund the project. Okay. So we knew that even if we gave them their money, if the other stuff, if they really didn't have a realistic goal to get it done, that didn't make sense. So we made them provide us that information.
And then again, the only county dollars are the $250.
Correct. That is the max. And it's eligible items. So if I'm sure the $1.3 million, there'll be plenty of eligible items, but sometimes we run into the jobs that are just over 500. You know, if there's some things that aren't eligible, the money could come a little bit down. We do a check when they submit their invoices to be sure it's all appropriate items.
All right, thank you.
Okay, and Madam Clerk, I'd like to add my name to this legislation as well. Ms. Conwell has a question.
Through the chair to Nicole, if the cities don't get the funds, particularly the ones in 2020, then what do we do? So if they don't get the funds, we obviously don't give them the money. Do we look at some of the others that got left off the list?
No, I mean, I guess we notify them that they're not getting awarded. We talk about, there is other programs. We tell them that we're going to be back out for it in 21. Some of the cities do say to us that they're just going to wait and try again. Some of the cities will tell us they're going to try to find other funding sources. So I guess we don't know exactly what every city plans to do, but there's not really another. And we don't keep them in the hopper and just rescore them for the next year because sometimes cities' priorities change. So we'll put the new application out. They're welcome to send that same project back in.
But I'm just saying some of these big cost ticket items, if they don't get issue 1 funds or whatever.
Okay.
Funds,
if they don't do the project,
we will no longer give them our part that we were going to award them. Do we open that access up to some of those other 62?
We haven't had that issue yet.
Okay.
Sometimes the city will come to us and say, can we push the job to the next year? And we do allow them to do that since it was selected based on the project's merits, not necessarily a year. So we've had them slip to the next year, which, I mean, we see that happen with our own projects sometimes. But we have not had anyone come to us and say, you know what, we're just not doing the job and take your money back. The intention would be, if that happened, that we would go to our scoring list and then just pick the next project. But I haven't seen that happen yet.
Thank you.
Okay. Ms. Baker?
If, and given these projects are this large, if as was stated, if this city had all the well intentions of having the grants and all that issue one and all the money that they thought they were coming, and they're in the middle of a project and find that they're not able to receive some of that. Are we, I mean, where are we in that pecking order? Are we first dollar in? Are we halfway through?
So we only reimburse at the end of a project. You know,
the
in
end.
order to do construction, the city has to certify that they have all the funds to start the project.
Okay.
So it's unlikely that a city would start a project without the money. I mean, we do the same thing here, that you have to certify to the contractor that you have the money in the bank, or you put it in escrow, you know, you have the funds started, so you don't run into that problem.
Okay.
So again, I don't see that as an issue, but we are the last ones to pay. You know, they have to pay the contractor, then they submit everything to us at the end, and we pay once at the end. So we're not paying monthly. I mean, it's just makes it easier on our fiscal people.
Good to know. Thank you.
Yeah, that makes sense. Okay, any further questions on this piece? Okay, yep, Ms. Connell.
Sorry.
That's okay.
So 50, it just dawned on me, 50-50 program. So we're actually, for the one that is $1.3 million, we're actually putting in half of that.
No, so only up to 250. So
50,
we
that's
call
what
it
I thought you
50-50,
said,
but
okay.
sometimes the city chooses to give us a project that's more than 500. Yeah, so the percentage could be less.
Okay, great, okay. With that, any further questions? Okay, all right, then I'll make a motion for second reading on this piece of legislation. So we have a motion and a second for a second reading on R 2019-0070. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed, nay. The ayes have it. Thank you. And there is one piece of miscellaneous business that I have to bring up.
Is it Monday?
Yeah, regarding Monday, yeah.
Yeah.
So last meeting, we discussed a parcel that was going to be vacated out on Warrensville Road. According to Ohio Revised Code, there's 3 steps, and part 2 of that step is a viewing of the property. It's a technical aspect of it in the Ohio Revised Code. It's a may view the property type of situation, from what I understand. So, what is the council's obligation on that? The committee's obligation is as far as viewing that property.
So we are going to be here on Monday at 10 a.m. and do a viewing via the computer in some fashion. So I don't know if it's a live viewing that Dave has set up. We've been working with IT on getting this figured out, but there will be a viewing of the parcel itself. So we'll literally show you out there what it looks like, where it's at, what we're taking.
And
so
will this be a public viewing in here?
It is, I'm sorry, Anka Davis for the Law Department. It is a remote viewing of the project, so that would, instead of the council going out in the field and viewing the project, walking the project, we would have a Public Works employee walking around with a camera or some kind of technology that I hope somebody figured it out.
Okay.
And you would be able to view it on the computer. There are also maps that you're going to be provided to be able to follow along.
Okay, so where would council members view is what I'm at.
So
Where
here,
would we go?
we have it set up here, right?
Yes, right now the technology was vetted in this room, but we
The
were
council
thinking
chambers?
about going to maybe the meeting room in council. So
Okay.
we have to figure out. We will be notified in time if we
and
change
then-
the location.
How many council members have to view that to make it count?
I would suggest that the Public Works Committee would
Have a quorum.
would
Have
view
a
that.
quorum?
Yeah.
Okay.
What did you say? Monday at 10 o'clock?
Monday at 10 a.m.?
Correct.
Monday at 10 a.m.
Yeah, I think we tried to do it before BOC.
And Chair, I'll be out of town,
Ms.
otherwise
Baker
I
will be
would.
viewing from the airplane.
We could send you some other photos.
Mr. Schramm, will you be able to make it? or-
I checked with my Supreme Allied Commander, called my Outlook.
Okay. Thought you were going to say your wife.
Oh, well, that is. She is my Supreme Allied Commander.
Yes, she probably would.
Yeah, she could carry it.
Okay. I'll make sure I'm here. And Mr. Miller,
What
I
time?
think so. I'll
10
check.
a.m.
10 a.m.
Sure. But I think so, yeah.
I will try my best. I have an appointment set at 11 o'clock.
okay. Okay.
Well, you need a quorum though. Do you need
That's
a quorum?
Do we need a quorum? We're not voting on anything, we're just,
No,
There's no action to be taken.
right, there's
No,
no
and I guess
action.
if you-
We just need to be aware of the project and
Okay.
look at
And
it.
if you want to invite the rest of, I mean, if anybody else is interested, then at least you could have
Right.
some
So
additional
that's why we
parties.
were thinking about moving
Yes.
it upstairs because
yeah,
you might
Janine,
have
if you
other
could invite
members.
all of council, I'm sure they'd love to come down at 10 a.m. to
It'll be very interesting.
view a slab of road. No, okay.
I know.
I give you my proxy.
I mean, the other option is we could try to have a field trip, which we knew was not going to happen. So this was in our hope to make it a little easier on you.
Well, Chair, will this be live streamed?
That's a good question. Will it be live streamed?
Janine was telling me that that's a possibility also, so we
Because if
might.
it's live stream, then we could view it from our location, our remote locations.
So we can work on that.
Yeah, that'd be great.
So we'll follow up. We can make a commitment to follow up by
Yeah.
Friday to let
Yes.
you know how this
Yeah.
will work.
Okay, that's fine. If you could let committee members know as far as how that's going to work, we'd
Sure,
appreciate
we'll
it.
send an email.
Okay, great. That's great.
Is the purpose to get a viewing of the property for Ohio Revised Code?
Yes.
So is there a necessity that it be a live stream anyway? Could you just have the person walk around, record it that morning, send it out to us, we click onto it, and we can review it at our leisure, and everybody can see it, and you're accomplishing, it seems to me, the same thing of what the intent was.
Right, I think the idea was that, the public would be able to be present because we send notification. So, if the public can go out at the property.
Sure, that'd be fine.
So
At
that's
that
why
time,
we
the person
wanted-
goes out, records it, and then sends it, as an attachment, and we click on it and look at it, and you can actually verify it, and the public can certainly go out there at 10 o'clock and walk through the site. I'm sure you're going to have just hordes of people.
So the Ohio Revised Code was obviously written before all this technology was available. So
17,
the idea was viewing at the same time, so we can work on the details. I'm sure that.
Yeah, if we could have some nice background music, that'd be nice.
Yeah,
Okay.
right. I'm sure it's going to
We
go into
were
warrant.
hoping that you would be able to ask the person whose questions, if you had any, the person who was actually walking the project, and
If for some reason you wanted to say, oh, I want to see over
Yes.
there a little more, can you go look? That was the idea.
So that was
But
the idea of having
it's
everybody
really-
in the room.
It's not super exciting, so I'm
Okay.
not sure you're going to have a lot of comment, but we're trying to comply with the code.
Okay, just let us know and we'll comply. All right. Okay, thank you.
you.
Thank
Ms.
you.
Ingles. Anything else from members of the committee? Mr. Miller?
I'd like to bring up about the amendment on the procurement legislation. What's the deal on that?
Yeah, yes. So my understanding is we were going to discuss that today, but I was told that other administrative officials were going to be looking at the amendment up from the other departments, so that they can take a look at it and come to us with comment if they had any additional anything to add to the amendment. What they thought of it. So we wanted to hear. So we didn't talk and then have go back and have them say, well, this doesn't work, or why would you do this? So we wanted to get their input on it before discussing it again.
Okay, thank
Okay,
you.
and that's a good question. I originally was going to put it on the agenda here, but I was told, why don't you hold off because they're going to look at the amendment as well.
So, if I'm not mistaken, the underlying legislation is up for third reading next Tuesday. Are we gonna have it held until we're?
Yeah, I would suspect that that's what we would do. Yeah,
okay.
So we can get that look at that amendment
Okay,
beforehand.
fine.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah. I wasn't quite aware that was coming up, but yeah, we will do that then.
Okay.
We'll definitely have discussion again about the amendment.
Okay. Fine.
Okay.
Thank you.
All right, thank you. Anything else? And with that, could I have a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
A motion and a second. All those in favor say aye. Opposed, nay. The ayes have it. We'll adjourn at 10:43.